So many of you rode this wave up in Hertz, and honestly, congrats on the gains if you did manage to catch this wave and sell your position for some handsome profits. But unfortunately, even more of you were caught on this wave down, and it's no fun being a bag holder, especially with a stock like this that loses more than half its value in about a week. Now, I'm sure if you're an investor still holding Hertz stock here today, you're contemplating selling your position. Or maybe you have that little voice in your head saying, just hold on one more day, just one more day. The stock could go up 100% tomorrow and then we'll be even or profitable and then we just sell out our position then and we never have to worry about this again. Well, if it was me, I would ignore that voice, never listen to its advice again, and go ahead and sell off my Hertz position. Now, full disclosure, I don't own Hertz stock. I never have owned Hertz stock, and I don't plan to own this stock as well because the fundamentals were enough to scare me away from this investment. But what's crazy is that in just the past month, around 70,000 Robinhood investors picked up this stock, maybe because they were looking for a quick bounce, maybe they were actually thinking this company could get out of bankruptcy. Don't really know what the reasoning is, but clearly there were bulls in the stock that wanted to ride the wave up, and a lot of them got caught here and now are left bag holding Hertz. Well, now you may be thinking, who is this guy on YouTube? He's just some random dude and he's saying he would sell his stocks, but he doesn't even hold his stock. So, I mean, who cares? Well, it just so happens that the company themselves, Hertz, is warning new investors in the stock that the company will need a miracle to avoid a wipeout. The company directly is quite literally saying equity holders, aka shareholders like yourself perhaps, if you're holding Hertz stock today, will not see a recovery from any bankruptcy plan unless those with more senior claims, including bondholders, are paid in full first. And for that to happen, guys, it would pretty much need a miracle for this company to turn things around and actually have a business that can start functioning once again and start making money once again after paying off their obligations. Essentially, Hertz is telling you that you will most certainly lose your investment if you continue holding the stock. It's quite crazy. We don't really see this very often. The company is coming out and saying, do not buy our stock because you will most likely lose your investment. They even say that even if by some miracle we're able to get out of bankruptcy, we will have to pay our debt holders first as a top priority. And then if there's any money left over, then shareholders will see that. But the chances of that happening are slim to none. And I guess that was enough to scare a few Robinhood investors away. About 3,500 of them sold out of this stock as of recording this video. But what's more remarkable and absolutely mind-blowing is that more than 167,000 Robinhood investors are still holding Hertz stock here today. That's absolutely crazy because even the company themselves are saying, don't hold our stock. It's high risk. We're most likely going to lose our money. You're most likely going to lose all your investment. So just sell it out. Don't hold it. But Robinhood investors are like, nope. I'm going to continue holding, doesn't matter what you say, I'm holding these shares. And guys, remember, this is just one platform. There's other platforms out there as well that investors invest on, and I'm sure there's hundreds of thousands of investors on there as well holding Hertz stock today. I really don't know what more can be done here. That you have pretty much any investor that has a decent understanding of fundamentals, look at the balance sheet and say, this is not an investment. You have the company quite literally file for bankruptcy because they cannot meet their obligations. And to top it off, cherry on the cake, Hertz, the company themselves, issued a statement saying, sell your shares. It's crazy what retail investors do these days, and I'm speechless. Carl Icahn may have lost $2 billion in Hertz here with his investment, but what does he know, right? He only owned 39% of the company before he liquidated his position for a massive loss. It's crazy the times that we're in right now, and it seems like retail investors are buying up companies left, right, and center. Does not matter what the underlying fundamentals are of the company. Does not matter if the company is in bankruptcy. Does not matter if the company is warning them not to invest. They will still keep buying shares. So anyways, Hertz is like, okay, you guys really want to buy our shares? Okay, no problem. Let's do something about this. The company will be selling $1 billion worth in shares to more retail investors, and they're looking to cash in on this euphoric optimism that we're seeing here in their stock right now. They'll then in turn use this money to pay off obligations, their debt holders, and everyone will end up happy in the end. Oh wait, except retail investors will most likely still lose their investment and still see their total investment in Hertz stock go to $0 sometime soon. But I mean, you live and learn. If you're a new investor, this is probably a crazy learning experience for you for your investing career. And I'm sure 10 to 20 years from now, we're going to look back on this time in history and say, remember that Hertz stock? Remember that stock that everyone was buying even though the company was bankrupt and said not to buy their shares? Can't believe investors were so rational back then. Let's use their mistakes and learn from it. Okay, so now let's get serious for a second here, guys, because I know a lot of you are holding Hertz stock here today. So if you are, what can you do with your investment? So I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice, but I want to walk through a situation. If I was personally holding Hertz stock here today, what would I do? Now, the current share price is $1.88 per share, and I really think I have two options here to manage this position. Honestly, there's typically three options with any investment, right? You can buy, sell, or hold. But with this investment, I would rule out buying any more shares because the company is at risk and serious risk to go to $0. So because of that, I wouldn't want to throw in any more good capital into this stock and risk losing that as well. So I can either continue holding or I can sell and lock in my losses. For me, the decision would be on how much capital I initially invested and how much capital I have remaining in the investment. Let's say I was extremely unlucky and I bought at the top here of $5.53 a share and I bought 100 shares of Hertz stock. This would equate to around $553 in my investment, and since it's down 66% today, this would mean that my 100 shares in Hertz would be worth around $188. For me to make back my investment and recoup my losses, the stock would need to 3x from its current price of $1.88 per share. And while this market has shown us anything is possible, I would say this is quite improbable. So if I did have around $200 or so from my initial investment that's remaining in this stock here today, I would not think twice. I would cut my losses, remove that capital from the stock, and then proceed to actually look for another business with a high growth, high potential for the future and deploy my capital in that business. Maybe I pick one of the stocks from my recent video here, which I covered, that have high growth, high potential over the next few years to really make a significant amount of money if that investment thesis plays out. But regardless, what I'd want to do is pick a business that has a very low chance of bankruptcy, but still have a high chance of doubling or tripling my money in the next, say, 3 to 5 years. There are so many stocks in the stock market that will get through this crisis and come out much stronger, but I would personally be avoiding cruise line stocks, airline stocks, pretty much these kind of stocks that are going to be hurt fundamentally for a long time, that had to take on a ton of debt to really get through this, and the chances for shareholders really making a significant amount of money back in the next few years is very low. Now, if you really did want to invest in some beaten down industry over these last few months, one thing I would look at potentially is hotel and resort stocks. Those are companies that are in better shape in my opinion compared to the airlines and such, and there could be some money to be made there over the next few years. Now, see, on the other hand, you only invested, say, $50 or $100, and you're down to, say, something like $50 or whatever in your investment in Hertz. Now, for me personally, I would probably just continue holding because at $50, I could just chalk that up as a loss and use that as capital losses for your taxes. But again, I would say it really depends on your personal situation, because if that $50 is actually a good amount of money to you, then again, the same thinking applies. I would sell, cut my losses, put that in a better company that can actually grow my money once again over the long term. Now, I do realize another option that you could really do to make some money back here is by playing put options in the stock. But honestly, guys, for beginner investors especially, I would stay far, far away from this sort of potential investment here to make your money back. Typically, when you revenge trade, which is when you lose money and try to make that money back, you end up losing even more money. And with options, the risk is even higher here for losing your investment. So I would personally stay away from that. Also, I haven't double checked this, but I would assume that these options are pretty expensive right now. You're paying a high premium, especially for the put options, because everyone's expecting the stock to go down. And the Greeks are also going to probably be extremely out of whack here with volatility so high and all that kind of stuff. So the bottom line, really, options are not really something I would look at, especially for this kind of trade. Now, I know it's not really fun to cut losses and actually say to yourself, I was wrong on this investment, I'm going to throw in the towel, chalk this up as a loss, and move on. It's not an easy thing to do, but trust me, what I have learned over the years is that when I do this for a bad investment that I've made, I typically can then deploy that capital in a much better business that can make back those returns and more over the long term. So in the end, it ends up working out much better for me. But in the short term, yes, it does take a hit, especially to your ego. Now, I really do hope genuinely that a lot of you guys that are holding this stock get a chance to really get out of this. Maybe it has another run up to $5 or $6 and you can just close out your position for minimal losses or maybe even break even or a slight profit. But I mean, the chances for that happening right now, in my opinion, are fairly low. Anything's still possible in this crazy stock market that we're seeing. Maybe Hertz will just 10x in the next few weeks or whatever. Never really know. But what I would say is that if you're hoping for this to go up over the short term here, hope is not an investment strategy and typically ends up losing you a lot more money over the long term than working out in your favor. So just remember that. That's just what I would personally do if I was holding Hertz stock today. Cut my losses, move on, use that capital in a much better business that can make back all those losses and more over the long term. Guys, hope this video was valuable. If it was, let me know in the comment section down below. Share this with a friend who maybe invested in Hertz stock or maybe some other stock that's in a similar situation here. Because I know in recent weeks, a lot of these sort of penny stocks have picked up popularity with beginner investors. And I know a lot of investors have fallen trapped to these stocks, unfortunately. So if you can help a friend out, make sure to do that by sharing this video. If you're brand new here, subscribe down below. And as always, drop a huge like if you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to invest positively, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.